New Thought Media Network proudly presents The High Vibe Hour. The High Vibe Hour with Reverend Cynthia and Reverend Skip. Fridays at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Only on New Thought Media Network.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're listening. Welcome to the High Vibe Hour. I'm Reverend Skip.
I'm Reverend Robert.
You're not Reverend Cynthia.
You're right. I'm not Reverend Cynthia.
You are Reverend. Oh, my goodness. Our dear beloved Reverend Cynthia, she's on her honeymoon. Not honeymoon, no, anniversary. She's on her anniversary trip because she got married, I think, a few years ago on Valentine's Day. It's pretty amazing.
And the pictures on social media look like she's having a great time.
She's looked like she's having a great time. But I am honored. I get to hang out with my friend, Rev Briz. You are just amazing. And we don't spend a lot of time together because we're doing other things, in this new world, in this new thought media network, in this new world. It's quite something, so this is extraordinary. I get to hang with you.
Thank you. It is a new world. It is new thought, and I agree. Not only are we both very involved, and I think that's the point. That's the definition of minister, if you ask me, is to be very involved in all of these different areas, many of these different things that are ours to do.
Yes.
And I know you've been really, really involved, and the church that you're serving has been really, really involved in supporting the folks that experienced the wildfires in the LA area. And now the work continues because the rains have come.
Yes, exactly. It's interesting because I'm always saying to Dr. Sidney, who's our senior minister at the North Hollywood Church of Religious Science and Oneness Center, we always say it's a Oneness Center afterwards because that's a colon. We're busier than ever. And it's interesting, when I physically saw you last time, I was in Florida and you were there at the Global New Thought Alliance.
International New Thought Alliance, and that's been almost 2 years, I think, at this point.
2 years.
Coming up on, we'll call it a year and 3/4. How about that?
I love that. And I came home at the right time, it seems. It's like it was time for me to come home. Florida just wasn't, let me put it this way. I learned the lesson that I need to learn. That lesson was over, and I came back, and I'm at North Hollywood, and I'm loving what we get to do there. And thank you so much for your support. You sent us a beautiful, I don't like using that word, tithe. You sent some treasure our way so we can help supporting the people out here in LA, which we need it right now. And Briz, we are actually dealing with the aftermath because there's still so many displaced people.
Right.
And so we're dealing with that now. We're dealing with price gouging. We're dealing with people who are taking advantage. We're dealing with the insurance companies that don't want to support. I mean, it's pretty crazy right now.
Yeah. Interestingly, I heard that flower sales. So today's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to anybody that still celebrates that holiday. But I heard that flower sales are down dramatically.
Yeah.
And as I shared on my morning program with my brother Elzia, I just bought my wife a dozen eggs. I think she'll feel the love a whole lot more than with a dozen eggs than with a dozen roses today. So,
oh my goodness, I love it. Well, this is the part we just do our vibe check-in and we say, how you feeling the vibes? And thank you so much for reminding us. It is Valentine's Day. That's where I'm wearing my love shirt, my love sweatshirt. You can go to theawakeshop.org and get your love shirt as well, sweatshirt. But how are you feeling? Because for me, it's not really a day outside of love because we're always in love. But what are you doing? How are you feeling today in this special Valentine's Day?
Great question. A lot recently. So I'm going to be very honest with you and your audience. Some days it is tough to love some people.
Yeah.
And And then if you disagree with them, they accuse you of being unloving.
Mm.
And for me, there's kind of that two-way piece that's like, yeah, but you got to be lovable.
Yeah.
If you walk into every single room and every single party screaming about how everything is broken and you guys all suck and none of you, well, yeah, you're not going to bring up the vibe. You're not going to bring up a sense of love. And I've been following Valerie Cower quite a lot for the last few years, and actually got to see her on her love tour this past summer here in the Denver area, or last fall. It wasn't summer, it was fall, but and she put out a post today. Love is more than a rush of feeling. Love is flavor, fierce, demanding, imperfect, and life-giving. A choice we make again and again and again. And for me, that was in my inbox this morning. So I was like, yeah. And then I got on Facebook and I went, so I had to get off of there so I could go, yeah.
Yay. Right.
Be in that vibe of love. And what she says is very, very real. It's not, excuse me, all puppy dogs and rainbows.
Right. Right.
It's not all red roses and flowers. Sometimes it is, honey, we got to have a talk. Sometimes it is, hey, dear one, that's a really ineffective way of going about it. Or, hey, you may not. I shared that comment today, somebody in a trans rights issue, and they were being really real. And I was like, do you have any idea how much you hurt people when you say those things?
Yeah.
Well, that's not my intention. Well, yeah, but that's not, I can't read your intention. When you put those words in a machine, it may not be forever, but it hurts people.
It does.
We've got to get to a place where love is no longer hurting people.
Yeah.
It might be messy. It might be a little rough. I might not always like the time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say we got to have more tough love in the world. No. I think we have to have more compassionate love in the world.
Softening love. I've been hearing the word soften because even in our New Thoughts kind of commitment, we can be in this whole space of, and you're wrong and we're right because we love everyone. And I'm like, no, soften. Even when you're with someone who can't, and they can trigger you. Trust me, I'm triggered quite a bit right now watching what our government's doing. Our government is systematically trying to, and they can't erase us. They can't erase, the marginalized community. They can't erase us, but, you go to a government building, there's no longer LGBT references in the government buildings. They've been wiped out. Then they are trying to systematically erase Black history. So like the Tuskegee Airmen trying to erase that out of the books in the public schools, and the women that served in World War II, the Black women, they're trying to erase that. Recent movie, I think it's called the 688, just came out on Netflix. It was a powerful. And so how do you, that's a big question. I love how you did it. How do you love when you're seeing everything that you stand for feels like it's being attacked?
Moment by moment, day by day, right? And I'm still not perfect at it, and I am still imperfect at it in various ways, and for me, I have to kind of take that long arc.
Yeah.
But it also might mean that I need to love myself enough to step away from something for a while. Not like cast you out of my life, not say I'm never speaking to you again, not completely ignoring or unfriending, but saying I need to take a step away from, because it's all about people. Right. We can get right into it.
Yeah.
What Elon Musk and Doge are doing, what Donald Trump is doing, what the people that he is putting in place will be doing, could not happen without a vast amount of people behind them.
Right. And that's the thing I think that's disheartening for me, to know that there were so many people that could look at his actions as being acceptable for leadership. And that was mind-boggling to me. What are we teaching our youth? What are we teaching the generation, our younger people, how to act? And we're teaching them lessons because they're watching. Oh, if Donald Trump did this, or if Doge did this, or if Musk does it this way, it must be right because they're in control.
Yeah.
So part of this too, for me, my vibe, feeling the vibe, energy around this has been really about me as a minister, especially here in LA, and it's very liberal here in the area that I'm at. I'm at a very open, oneness center, very inclusive movement.
Yep.
But how do I show up on this thing that we're on right now called social media? Briz, I've been trying to figure out. One thing I'm kind of clear about. I am moving away from TikTok. This is some energy God is saying you can move away from TikTok. You don't have to be on TikTok. I will stay on Facebook because we have an audience here. Our network has an audience. There's a presence here, and also on YouTube,
right,
and Instagram. But I don't have to be in the fullness of where this energy is. It's just feeling like it's attacking.
Yeah. For me, the New Thought message has to be on every single platform.
Okay.
But I don't. and New Thought Media Network doesn't necessarily need to be on every single platform there is right now. And truthfully, from my perspective, Facebook doesn't make it easy for creators to be sustaining.
No.
They make it easy to take your money for advertising, but they don't make it easy for creators to be sustainable.
Yeah.
And for all kinds of reasons, and that's not what we're here to talk about. It's not, but we have to pick and choose where we feel we're going to do the most good.
Mm-hmm.
We can move the needle individually
or
organizationally. If you're in a smaller community, if you're in a family-sized church, if you're in a smaller church, or if you're in a bigger church, and you have decision-making power, you're going to get to decide how that church or how that community or that spiritual center, or whatever words we want to use, gets to interact with what's going on. Do you have a plan if ICE shows up to your church on a Sunday morning? Have you discussed it? Right? Those are things that we have to be realistic about and not hide our head in the sand. And any church that isn't having a conversation around that is either very, very small and very, very white, or just very, very white. But if there's one person of any color in your community, I believe we ought to be, and that's not fear, and that's not unloving.
It's preparation.
That's saying, hey, these are the conditions of the world we find ourselves in. New Thought was born as a physical healing modality because of the conditions of the day. It has changed, it has moved, it has evolved, it has morphed into things that some like and some don't like, and some claim, I get yelled at all the time. Anytime I just say liberation theology, and man, they come at you like a ton of bricks.
I can imagine.
I cannot imagine how much David Alexander has to field with where he is, but we teach an evolutionary philosophy. Life evolves, human consciousness evolves. No question, there's a large portion of human consciousness centric to America, I believe, has been deluded, has been conned, has been lied to. I saw an article today, and it's a long thing of great things that our current president has done. And at the bottom, there's a little caption that says, "And for those of you trying to fact check all this, don't bother." And I was like, oh, there we go. So I took all of it, dropped it into like 4 different chat GPT, AI models, and said, please find me verified. Like half of them on that list. There's a couple on that list that, yes, he did do. He was a nice guy. He paid somebody some money. He paid off somebody's mortgage. But the majority of it was all propaganda. So my point, we have to stay in the arena. Been reading a lot of Brene Brown again for some reason lately.
Ooh, hello.
Gotta stay in the arena.
Yeah.
But we have to go in the arena naked and unafraid. We cannot take our shield and our sword into the arena. We have to step into the arena. And you can call me every name you want to call me. And you can make assumptions about who I vote for and what I believe. And you can do all of that. And I'm going to meet every part of it with a loving rebuttal.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's my talk on Wednesday at the Wednesday Wake Up at North Hollywood. It's 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to see it, it's online. And I talked about sacred activism. And the reason why we are called, and this incredible book is How We Learn to Be Brave by Bishop Marianne Booty. And one of her chapters is, the deciding to stay, to make a commitment. What I'm noticing, especially with myself, is that last rodeo, and I'm calling it, this is the second Donald Trump rodeo. The first rodeo, I was just mad. I was angry, Rev. I was angry. I was, George Floyd. I think I was on the network at that time. George Floyd had just died. We were having great conversations about how angry I was, and we got to get up and do something, which is very valid.
Yes.
This time, I want to move from a place of sacred activism. And sacred activism says we start off with spiritual practices, the foundation, and it's move for the reason of compassion and creating a world that works for everyone, love and kindness. So this first rodeo, I believe, prepared us for what we're going to do now. And I also mentioned in the talk that every single evolution of consciousness for the world came out of the spiritual communities. We have Gandhi, who was he was a Hindu. His Hindu faith moved into the social activism. Martin Luther King, of course, and happy Black History Month. Don't forget to check out our Black History Month moments here on this network. We're doing this. And it's also the season of nonviolence, so check out those meditations as well. But everything from the abolition movement to everything came out of the spiritual communities.
Right.
So when we're able to really understand our roots of sacred activism, why it's so important right now, it is our churches, our centers, our communities who are working on a higher consciousness will be the spiritual leaders in this. I truly believe the movement's going to come from our communities.
Yes, I believe so too. And I want to say it publicly, and please let Reverend Sydney know that I applaud the stance she is taking publicly as a spiritual leader in a senior minister role of a pulpit type ministry. So there are many out there right now that are conspicuously silent.
Yeah.
And I want to applaud Reverend Sydney for staying in the arena and saying, I love you, but this can't continue.
Absolutely. We've made this agreement together, and I am just so fortunate. Hey, Shay's in the house. What's up? Good to see you in Colorado, right?
Yes.
Good to see you, Shay. Thank you for supporting our show. One thing that Dr. Sydney and we have made agreement, we talk about this almost every single day. We are willing to go to jail. We're willing to stand up. We're willing to walk the streets. We will do it hand in hand. So you have this cisgendered white woman with this queer Black fingernail wearing, we're going to be hand in hand, and we're going to shift this plan. I love where I landed, Briz. I tell you what, I did not know. When I was leaving Florida, I was like, I don't want to be in the ministry anymore. I don't know. And we had a little conversation. You're like, brother, there are other things out here that can support you. Didn't know I was landing into a space that not only supports what is really near to my heart, but they embrace it, and they will be standing with me side by side.
Yeah.
That's it's so incredibly amazing. So
I don't
incredibly amazing.
I don't know if I told you this or not. When I heard you landed in North Hollywood, I let out a truly a vocal cheer when I heard that news,
Yeah.
and I was just right, because to me that's the representation of you're in the arena, you're doing the work,
Yeah.
you went to Florida, dude.
I I went to Florida.
Shy of
I went to
Texas, shy of Texas.
Florida.
I mean, I don't know. I've never been a gay black man, but I can't imagine that Florida was like the most welcoming place in the world. Not talking about the community, talking about the general society there, and the general belief system there. So I cheered out loud because to me that was a representation of it's the demonstration, not giving up, staying true to who you are here to be, not who somebody tells you you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and the most important thing I believe, and people say, well, what's the difference? And everyone wants to go into that place of duality. I'm going, well, not really a place of duality, but I can tell you how the experience of God showed up for me as a learning tool in Florida. There were a very much of, so you're on this side, we're on this side, and we don't want to mix with you. Right. And being here in California, you've been here. We have a live and let live kind of thing. It's like, you can believe this, okay, that's fine, but we got to go through these fires together. We got to go through the earthquakes together and the floods together. So we are Californians. Let's see, we might not believe the same or love the same, but we're going to be open enough that we embrace you. And that was a big shift for me coming back to North Hollywood, coming back to California. I realized, oh, there was this softening energy, because in Florida it was always like this kind of dis-ease in my spirit, in my physical. I got back here, I was like, oh, I'm home again.
Yeah,
I'm home again.
It's what I love about I just realized this. It's part of why I love living in the West.
Yeah.
Because you're in Utah, or you're in Colorado. Sorry. Wow, that was a lot of years ago.
Wow.
Here in Colorado, we predominantly vote blue.
Yeah.
But we are self-admittedly a very purple type state.
Yeah.
We are one of the 13 states that does not take more money from the government than we pay in. Mm-hmm. California is another.
Yeah.
All right. That's one of the things I love. Oh, we're going to get rid of all the money and what? We're going to give it all back to the state. Like, great. Half of the red states are going to be bankrupt in a day because they don't know how to manage their money. And if they ain't getting federal help, they ain't getting any help. But back to my point. In the West, there's more than enough space that if I don't like you, if I don't necessarily want to talk with you, if I don't want to necessarily agree with, I can get in my car and go somewhere. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I can be totally in another. I was born and raised on the East Coast. I lived there long enough to know that you can't turn around without being in somebody's business, without being in yours.
Yeah.
Right. It's just so packed. It's so, and my times where I have visited Florida, it's how quick can I get out of here? Because there's too many people here.
Yeah.
When you start stacking people that tight, there's no room to get away and reflect and say, maybe they are right. Maybe they do have a point. Maybe I can take a look at their argument and find a place that maybe not.
Yeah.
I believe very, very much in people over profits. And right now, we got a lot of people that seem to think that profits are more important than the people, and that finding this money that is more important than the people. And I guarantee all this money that we're saving, finding, eliminating, none of that's going to end up in the people's hands.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely not. In fact, we can see the evidence of the removal of federal care or federal fundings that are going directly to the 1%. It's not even a 1% any longer. What is it? It's a 0.001% now or something who's getting the benefits from this. And
And there-
part of this is, and this is what I truly believe, and this is part of our heart wisdom today, is how can we show up for the people? And in our heart wisdom, this is our love space. This is what we're being called to show up for the people. In the space of love, in the space of activism, I believe that we're being called to come back to the ways of the indigenous people. We come together as our tribe. We take care of our tribe. We have different gifts that we come and we support our communities. And because our federal government is not going to support us, we can see the evidence right now. So where is the answer? The answer again comes to our communities, come to our churches, the New Thought Media Network. This is where we support your spiritual practice and your spiritual, your education.
You're coming right back to people for me, right? It's about our people, taking care of people. Yes. And truthfully, if this administration accomplishes what it appears it wants to, and everything gets put back to the states, and every state is responsible for their own fire control, and every state is responsible for their own health care, and every state is responsible for their own gun control, like I said earlier, there's going to be a lot of states that are bankrupt pretty quickly without government assistance. There's going to be a lot of people that are hurt without the government support. And here's the thing. It seems like so many people have forgotten that things like DEI were instituted not to give someone of color a hand up or a leg up or an advantage. They were instituted to make sure that they were not taken advantage of. Yeah.
See, that's deep. We talked about this last week, and people are having this issue with DEI. But I want to say, if you take our New Thought principles, DEI is what, and I said, okay, so y'all have trouble with DEI. Let's get a new acronym. D stands for divine connection. We're all connected in the divine. The E is embodied truth. When we learn these principles, we have to go out and live them. And then we have infinite inclusion, which there is no limit to your inclusion. It doesn't stop here. So part of this work right now is
wait. Go through it again, just so everybody hears it again. We can't let that just go by. We got to I'm making a meme right now. Somebody.
Okay, it's the new DEI of New Thought. We are divine connection. We're all divinely connected to God. There is no separation. And we move from that place of divine connection. We start to treat each other better. And then we take this divine connection. And I understand that, Reverend Briz, it's you and me. We are one. We are connected, period.
Yeah.
And then once we understand this divine connection, we must be the embodiment. So the E stands for embodied truth. We have to go out and live these principles. And I believe people don't do better because they don't know better. Yeah. Or maybe they do and they choose not to. I don't know, but we have to be the embodied truth. And once we're embodied truth, there is a deeper understanding is no matter what the government says, or no matter what an organized religion might say, there is no finite practice in inclusion. We are all infinitely included no matter what. So you can try to erase the Tuskegee Airmen. Right. You can try to erase our movement of what we've done in not just in Black history, but in women's history, in the LGBT. You can't erase us. We are infinitely included into the body and the spirit of God. Yeah. So that's kind of, I had to get around because I kept hearing people, talk about DEI. I wish they stopped talking about DEI. I'm going, DEI is what our practice. New Thought people, Rev, have been saying, we need to stop talking about DEI because it turns people off. No, we have to speak this gender equality and we have to go louder. Don't back away from this issue to try to win an election.
Right.
That just been
win friends. Ooh. Yeah. Or to not be. I think if you're in a New Thought community, and you're not willing to publicly make a stand for DEI, you are not only in the wrong place. maybe you're not in the wrong place, but what you definitely are doing is trying to hide from the arrows. You're trying to hide from the attacks. You're trying to, and that kind of fear and courage and that fear and hiding is going to hurt all of us a whole lot more than just you. It's like, it is the total back asswards version of who we are. And I like to say it this way. We all come to New Thought at a different time and through a different door. Mm-hmm. Some come through the unity door, some come through divine science, some come through religious science, some come through books and readings that are, all right. I found all of this through the Celestine Prophecy.
Oh, wow.
Right. Read that book. Hey, wow, that's pretty interesting. Didn't think about it for quite a while because I didn't find anything else but then eventually when I found New Thought, I was, what that was.
That was I did the same thing happened to me. I went, oh, that's what they were talking about in Peru. Oh, I get it now. My eyes are open. I'm seeing it in a different way. Yeah.
And so we all come to the philosophy as a neophyte. We all come to the philosophy with no real understanding. We might be able to start to piece together our previous understandings or our previous beliefs and graft them on top of New Thought.
Yeah.
But we come to this philosophy without a full understanding of it, the immature experience. And this is where we get things like, oh, I manifested a parking spot, or who are you to say that? Or what's in your consciousness, or all those immature understandings of the philosophy. But once you've been around a couple decades, you come to a much more mature and nuanced understanding of how this is actually the guiding principle of the universe, of how these are the things that if we use them and rely on them and live them and have deep faith, then we might still have to push back against what's happening in the world, but I'm still at a point of peace every night. I don't awake wondering what's going to happen. I am concerned that my trans friends are hoarding drugs right now, are stockpiling prescription medications right now. I am very concerned about a number of different communities and people, but I can sleep well at night knowing that I am doing everything Spirit is asking of me to present the truth.
And I truly believe this is a part of our spiritual activism, where if we really look at this idea of how it should show up in us, there is this peace that we're still very much standing up for righteousness, right action. But there is this peace that we're moving forward because we know we're anchored in God. So what we're going to do right now, y'all, we're going to take a little bit of a break and a little just reminder, a couple of things that are happening here this month, like our Black History Month and also the Season for Nonviolence. We will be right back. Thank you so much, y'all, for joining us and watching us. Let's take a little break.
New Thought Media Network proudly presents the 2025 Season for Nonviolence 64-day meditation series, January 30th through April 4th. Join us as we carry the vision of a world that works for all.
Join our celebration of Black History Month. Only on New Thought Media Network. New videos every day at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, or watch anytime on our YouTube channel. 28 unique Black History moments. Every day in February. Only on New Thought Media Network.
And we're back here at the New Thought Media Network. And this is the network that says we tell it like it is when it comes to New Thought. And now I've been watching these shows. I've been watching these. And our hosts here on this network, they're just so dope. So filled with consciousness and fearless to speak truth.
Yeah.
And thank you for leading the way. One of the things I always want to ask you is, how did you get this network started? What was the call? Because this is a call for the people. How does like downloading you, brother, to go, and your yes creates our yes, and we're like, okay, we're all going yes. Let's see how did this come together?
It's really, really interesting because there are pieces and parts of the network that have been in my consciousness going way, way back 20 years. I can remember talking probably 20, 25, 30 years ago about what we really need is a good news, half-hour good news after all the doom and gloom we get at 6 o'clock. Let's at 6:30 do a half-hour good news. It took quite a few years, but we now have a good news station program. Friday nights, 5 o'clock, right here on the network. Come find me. I'm on the air, and I share a half-hour of good news stories. As a matter of fact, I was picking out my stories for today before we got together, and almost have all my stories for today put together. But so the impetus of it has always been there. In 2019, 2017, 2018, I was done with ministry, to be honest. What I now know is I wasn't really done with ministry. I was just done with the organizational aspects of it, or some of the organizational aspects of it. And one night, early in 2019, late at night, I was trolling around the internet, and an old idea came to me. What about an internet radio station? And the reasoning was simple. I was spending 12 hours a day in my car driving for Uber and Lyft. I had to listen to all this crap radio in the Denver market. And I wanted something easy for me to be able to listen to in my car, in my little earpiece, that kept me inspired. And as the universe would have it, an old company that had gone defunct and somebody else had bought the name was just relaunching. That's now live365.com. In the middle of the night, I launched an internet radio station by uploading a handful of my best New Thought albums.
Wow.
Over time, add a little more, add a little more, add a little more, add a little more. And all of this is legit because the platform we work with pays royalties to the artists. And as long as I have the right publishing information in my files, people get paid. So even better. My people are getting paid. The people are getting paid for this, and I'm having a little bit of fun. And well, 2020 rolls around. Still kind of disillusioned in the early part of the year. My mentor gives me a task of doing a 30-day visioning quest, and by early March, the world's going into lockdown, and we were turning on the cameras and started our daily prayer program. That program, we pray for 15 minutes. We get together. It's a 15-minute program twice a day, 8:15 a.m. and p.m. We're almost at our 5-year anniversary. We're about to turn 5 next month. And we've missed a few, but for the most part, you can count on New Thought Media Network sharing a spiritual mind treatment and affirmative prayer with the world, whether there's anybody watching or not.
Yeah.
And so, that's what, 700 videos a year. And so we've got 3,500 prayers out there circulating in the world. I know that has to shift the consciousness of humanity.
Absolutely. I mean, 2020, when I came on, remember the high conscious conversation with Rev Skip? Thank you so much. It was just the time. And that was when I got a lot of my anger out.
And those shows are still out there.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to hit on them and say, wow. Or some archivist is going to find it on a hard drive or a lost cloud account someday, and be like, wow, this is how we responded to the events of our day.
Yeah. This is how we said yes to a higher consciousness or a higher vision, higher energy, however you want to use it. One of the things I love about what you just said And sometimes we have to forget. I forget this in my being a creative, being a creator on online, and sometimes you get caught up in the likes, and you get caught up in how many people are watching at the time. And thank you all 5 of y'all who are watching. It's great live. But then I forget what I do. I go back later on and watch the shows when I was doing something else online. I go back and watch, ministers talking shit. I go back to watch. Oh, I just said. I guess I can say it. I don't know. I said it anyway. But I love that show. I love the teachings that we get to experience together. And people will see them later on down the way.
Yeah, I think, and I know this is controversial, and it fits right in with the New Thought philosophy. We can't look at the pandemic as this horrible, oh my God, this thing happened to me.
I agree.
Now, I have sorrow for families who lost family members. I have sorrow, and I experience that sorrow as I trust as much as anybody else. And we can't bury our head in the sand. We have to continue to rely on the philosophy that we teach. And that means that something good came out of the pandemic.
Ooh, so much good.
Now hold your seats, folks, because something good is coming out of what's happening in Washington right now. There's a lot of new thoughters that we've been talking for years about the need for change, and systems are going to have to change. It's not happening the way we imagined.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to try to apologize or justify how it is happening.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it is happening. And so I put out a Substack today called A New Thought Approach to Government Reform. Because I don't believe that a scorch the earth, throw everything out the window, and let's build back from scratch is the best way forward. I believe there is a spiritual path to cleaning up the government, to helping to restructure departments that are ineffective, to get rid of the corruption and the fear and all the things that are the cause of these events.
Absolutely. And I also believe that while we are cleaning up the government, I believe that we must have leaders in place that understand this is for the people, not for the pocket. Right. Is it for the people or the pocket? What do you can't have both because it doesn't work. Right. So as we're cleaning up this government, we must realize that we still have the intention to be here for the people. I remember my teacher, Michael Beckwith, always taught us this, that we have those 4 Ps. We have a purpose to create prosperity for the people on the planet. Those are your 4 Ps. You have a purpose to create prosperity, not just for me, for everyone, for the people and the planet. And that is our calling right now. But we're seeing, and the other thing that has been downloaded in my consciousness is this. Our New Thought teaching teaches us this oneness, abundance, prosperity for all, equality. This is our roots. This is what we believe in our hearts. And when we see the outpicturing of something different, it's like, really? And it's like, okay. And I do believe that something incredible is coming out of this, something so divine that we haven't even seen yet. And so maybe I know this is a divine purpose to this, so that we can move and have this evolution that we've been calling forth.
We are the human, the consciously human voting bloc.
Ooh.
We just don't know it yet, right? We are and not just New Thought, but a lot of really good people. I struggle because there are CSL ministers who voted for the current administration. And
I struggle with that as well. And I do know practitioners, and I know people who I'm going, okay, so.
And we're going to be there to comfort them. And we're going to be there to counsel with them when they realize that someone came for them or their loved ones or somehow all of a sudden, yeah. Here's another example. As if the chicken farmers didn't have it hard enough. Right? As if the egg producers didn't have it hard enough right now, as if the American people didn't have it hard enough right now buying a dozen eggs, our government is about to take away all the subsidies to those farmers under the guise of Doge, and they're going to take away all the subsidies that make these farmers' lives possible. You think we got a hard time with paying for a dozen eggs now? Wait until there's nobody left to farm to farm those eggs, and you got to go find a wild chicken in the field to do it.
Well, it's already happening right now. I want our listeners and our viewers to really wake up to what is happening here in California as they're preparing to do a massive ice in all of Southern California, pretty much. The 50% of your produce, your fruits come from Southern California. And when our undocumented workers who've been doing this work is no longer protected, no longer here, and you have our bougie California people are not going to get in the fields you're going to have to hire people at a higher rate of pay than you would, not saying that what our undocumented payers are getting is fair, because I don't believe that's fair trade either. I believe that needs to be reformed. So this is not what I'm saying, but you will now be forced to pay proper labor money, and guess who was going to pay for that? You think your orange juice and eggs? Wait, and anything that comes from California. The other thing is, and that's going to directly hurt the people who voted, and everyone's going to hurt everyone, or it's going to shake up everyone. The other thing too is that I've been watching stuff online. I need to turn off the online stuff, and people are complaining about the tariffs that Trump is placing on. And I said, did you not hear that he said he was going to do this? And I'm like, did you not hear? And so for me, I'm like I'm in that egoic sense of, did you not hear?
Yeah.
Where Spirit is saying, learn to soften, learn to love. Because people need to hear this. They need to see this. But they're going to be needing to be loved through this as well.
It's not like they didn't write a book. They wrote a whole book about what they were going to do, about how they were going to do it. The timelines are there. And anybody that's surprised that they're going by the playbook that they let us see.
They told us, this is what we're going to do. Here it is. Boom.
And I know good people that laughed at Marianne Williamson. Right? And I believe, and now we'll see how my board of directors feels about all this, but I'm pretty sure they're with me. If today is not the day, if now is not the time to bring new thought, to bring spirituality into our government, into our politics, well, when's the best time to plant a tree? 30 years ago.
Yeah.
We didn't plant a tree 30 years ago. So we got to plant a tree today. We have to plant. And Marianne is, I so love what she does. And I'm so enamored with her willingness to go out there and let them sling the arrows, because they sling a lot of them. Yeah, and she can, in a forceful and commanding way, she continues to throw back hearts. And that's not mine. That's Ram Dass's teachings, that when they throw arrows, we throw
hearts. Part of this work, I believe, is teaching us how to do that. Because how will we learn that lesson if everything is rosy and everything is like, oh, everything's good, everything's good, everything's good? We have to learn that, because that's not how the polarity experience of God, because I believe everything's in God. God is in everything, even in the people, especially in the people that you did not vote for, or the people that you feel in your face and they feel like they're attacking you. That is where we get to learn this lesson, because the polarity of God, of this energy, the experience of God, there is high vibration, low vibration. There is. And when the darts come, we got to throw some hearts. Got to throw some hearts.
There
So
is,
this is. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
in my mind, there are errors.
Yeah.
There is misuse, and there is just simply ignorance.
Mm.
There's error thinking. There is a misuse of these principles of the law. And for some, there is a complete ignorance of how their actions affect the whole.
Yeah.
We, New Thought, to use that royal we, New Thought, spiritual folk, good folk, and even if you're not in the New Thought philosophy, good folk in lots of churches and lots of good atheists and lots of good agnostics and lots of good people that don't agree with what's happening right now have that power to help the ignorant get woke. And we have the power to help those that are misusing the law stop. And we have the power to help those that are thinking from an error, from an erroneous train of thought, to help them to think in a more productive way, in a helpful way, in a new way.
Absolutely. I truly, truly believe, and I love that word woke, and I'm going to continue to use it. Although there are people out in the world that says, listen, when you woke, you have woken up to who and what you are, to the higher consciousness. That's all it means. Don't be fearful of that. Don't be afraid of that. But part of this work that we do here and in this show is the high vibe. How do we get to the high vibe energy in the midst of this? How do we go back to the heart? What are some of your practices of getting us back to the heart?
You just said it. Practices. Practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? How do you get to your heart? How do you get to a deeper understanding? Practice. Yeah. Gandhi said that I practice an hour a day unless I'm especially busy, and then I practice for 2. Now is the time to rely on the truth that we know. My journals are right there. My morning journal is right there. My gratitude journal is right there. My visioning journal is right there. My I'm having a hard time with you journal is right there. Right.
You're saying journal.
Yep.
I love it.
I rely on prayer as we know it. I rely on my meditations. I rely on the visioning process. I rely on my journaling practice. And I rely on checking in with friends. Not just how you doing, but that phone call that says, hey, I love you, and it's been a while. And even though I didn't catch you and I'm leaving a message, I'm not going to hang up. I'm going to leave you a message and say, I love you, and you're doing good in the world, and keep doing what you're doing in the world. I think the quickest, easiest way to raise our vibration, to transcend the limitations, to get out of the attack, to get into the place where I'm pulling out hearts instead of arrows, is to talk to a friend.
Oh, I love that. And I love the word that you reiterated, the practice. That's what we teach here at the High Vibe Hour. To raise your vibration is a practice. One of the things I've been doing more so than anything is stopping and taking a breath. I've been like, even before going into a yoga class or teaching a yoga class, y'all, we just need to stop and breathe here. Because especially here in California, I mean, we jokingly joked when it turned to February. We said at North Hollywood, hey, that was the longest year ever. January was the longest year ever. It really was. But taking a breath allows me to stop and just remember and just drop into a space of softening. I keep using that word. That word keeps coming to me, to soften. So the practice for me, and sharing this with our listeners and to our viewers, it is all about taking time to breathe. In the midst of this time, we must learn to breathe. And, it's very easy just to stop, take a breath, close your eyes, exhale. And in that breath, you can literally say, I'm safe, I'm connected, I'm grounded. And in that breath that we say, I'm safe, I'm connected and grounded, then we're able to move into our sacred activism, because it's going to require some work. y'all. This is not just gonna be like, okay, it's all gonna change. We're all gonna fall asleep and wake up, and it's gonna,
Right.
we fall asleep again. We wake up. It might be a whole another story, but it's gonna require us to step into some work.
We're playing a long game. Like,
we are playing a long game.
Today is day 1,000 of the Russian occupation of Ukraine. We're playing a long game here.
We're playing a long game.
You shared two things. Two things I just want to touch on real briefly.
Absolutely.
You shared what I call the Bob Newhart principle. For those that remember the Bob Newhart show, he had a fabulous skit. You got to go look it up. It's on YouTube. You just type in Bob Newhart and the words "stop it." And
I've seen that.
Stop it.
I've seen it.
This guy is pissing me off. And blah, 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 blah. Stop it. I can't believe she said this and blah, blah, blah. Stop it. Did you hear what he just did? Stop it.
Stop it. I love it.
Because we need that energy that you're talking about for the resistance. We need that energy to build the future. We need that energy to follow the vision. And it was Ernest Holmes that wrote, "To desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that we never knew the truth." When things are the darkest, and that's in the Science of Mind textbook, so don't yell at me for being harsh. To desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that we never knew the truth to begin with. When things look the darkest, notice he doesn't say are the darkest. When things look the darkest, when things seem the darkest, that is the supreme time to do this work. That is the most prolific time to do this work, because you will prove to yourself more than anybody else that you have the power to change the course of human history.
Absolutely. That's a mic drop moment if I ever heard one. That's a huge completion there. Thank you so much. I thank you. Rev Briz, you're one of my favorite people in the world, and thank you so much for dropping in and being, a support. And we are sending so much love to Reverend Cynthia, which she just loves being on this network. We love being on this network together. It's like I always say, this is our prac hour. This is our practitioner session right here. We get to do that. So just a few reminders, everyone, as we are moving into our closing right now. You can reach out to Dr. Cynthia, Reverend Cynthia, on all the social medias at cynthiaambreeze@gmail.com for more information there. And you can go to cynthiaambreeze.org to find out more about her. We have a trip. We're going to Bali. And the trip to Bali is, I'm looking for the banner. Here it is. It is coming up. It is July 13th through the 24th. We still have room. And I'm also doing a trip to Bali in 2026. More information coming, but we are going to Bali together in July. And you can reach out to me at Rev Skip Jennings on all the social media. I'm Rev Skip Jennings everywhere. And for right now, I'm still on TikTok, but I'm kind of moving away from TikTok, but everywhere. And you can catch me at the North Hollywood Church of Religious Science. Wednesday night, we do something called the Wednesday Wake Up. And it's a lot of fun. It's stuff outside of the box because there is no box in God. So make sure you join us for that. Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Do me a favor, if this fed you, we need you, or we're asking you to support our community right here. If you support our community, it is ntmedia.org/donate. Because here's the story. We require your time, your talents, and your treasures to be sustainable so we can take this message into the world that needs it right now. So please support, and you can reach out to us directly, myself and Cynthia, by going to our websites again. This has been a wonderful, wonderful hour. Rev Briz, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you.
I have I recognize we're almost over the hour, but I have one quick announcement.
Sure, absolutely, please.
And that is next Wednesday, we're having a panel discussion with an amazing group of people. The Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, Bishop Darrell Watkins, Reverend Cindy Grimes, Reverend Dr. David Alexander, and Reverend Casey Taylor. I'll be moderating this 90-minute panel discussion on Is New Thought in Hospice, and who gets to make that call?
Oh, I am going to be definitely in on that. I'll see if I can drop in. There's some powerful people.
Yes.
It's really good. So we will definitely make sure I announce that in different places that I'm at as well. So I'll get more information. And it's listed on our website, correct?
And it's listed on Facebook, YouTube, all those places. And and there will be a question and answer period where people will be able to share their questions or comments with us live during the program. So we really encourage you to check it out and join us. Again, that's next Wednesday night.
Awesome. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us today. Listen, transformation is a choice, and you chose today when you showed up. Hey, y'all, be kind, be loving, because the world needs it right now. Peace and blessings till next week. And Reverend Cynthia will be back. Peace, y'all.
Love you.
New Thought Media Network proudly presents the 2025 Season for Nonviolence 64-day meditation series, January 30th through April 4th. Join us as we carry the vision of a world that works for all.
Join our celebration of Black History Month. Only on New Thought Media Network. New videos every day at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, or watch anytime on our YouTube channel. 28 unique Black History moments. Every day in February. Only on New Thought Media Network.